All right, in chapter 8, we are going to talk about statistics. Now, statistics has quite a bit of vocabulary that goes along with it. If you take a statistics course, you'll find out that the first chapter is all about vocabulary. So let's learn some new words. Statistics is just a method of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting that data, as well as drawing conclusions based on the data. And the methodology is divided into two main areas. In other words, there's two types of statistics. There's descriptive statistics, which collects, organizes, summarizes, and presents the data. And then there's inferential statistics. Now, inferential statistics uses probability to make generalizations about and draw conclusions from the data. Another couple of words you'll learn in statistics are populations and samples. A population is a set containing all the people you're interested in. And a sample is a subset or a subgroup of the population. So in other words, the population is everyone, and a sample is part of that population. So if I wanted to know what every 12th grader in the United States, what their favorite movie was, my population would be every 12th grader in the United States. A sample would be a subgroup for that. So maybe I chose 100 12th graders in every state, and that would be a sample. Now that leads us into representative sample. That's a sample that exhibits characteristics typically of those possessed by the target population. And another way to say that is if I were doing all the 12th graders in the United States, but I only surveyed Florida, would that be representative of my entire population? And the answer to that is no. To be representative, I would need to choose 12th graders from every state. So let's look at the difference between populations and samples. It says the Board of Supervisors in a large city decides to conduct a survey among citizens of the city to determine their opinions about restricting land use in order to protect the environment. So part A says describe the population, and B says a supervisor suggests obtaining a sample by surveying people who hike along one of the city's nature trails. Each person will be asked to express his or her opinion on the land use restriction and protect the environment, or to protect the environment. Does this seem like a good idea? Okay, so part A, the population is going to be all the citizens of that city. That's the population they're interested in. Now, in part B, just questioning those hiking is not necessarily a good idea. Okay, one of the things the book mentions is they have a more positive attitude about the environment. I mean, they're out hiking. My other thing would be, are they all from the city? Just because they're hiking does not mean they're from your city. So that would not be a good way to get a sample. So let's talk about random samples. This is a good way to get a sample. Now, when you get to statistics, they'll teach you 4 different sampling methods, but we're going to look at random samples. A random sample means that every element in the population has an equal chance of being selected. Okay. Now, the methodology, in other words, how could you do that? Well, you identify each element in the population. You can give them numbers, and then you can randomly select numbers and assign the elements in the population who have those numbers to your sample set. Okay. All right, so here's a sampling technique. We're going to return to the Board of Supervisors in a large city, and they're interested in how the city's citizens feel about restricting land use in order to protect the environment. Which of the following would be the most appropriate way to get a random sample? So A, randomly surveying construction workers who live in the city. Well, that's not the best idea because construction workers depend on new construction. And that would diminish with land use restrictions. So they may not vote, they may vote towards their interest. They don't want to put aside and protect the environment because they want more money. B, survey the first 200 people whose names appear in the city's telephone directory. Well, that doesn't give every citizen an equal chance. Okay, it's just the first 200 people. It's not random. The third way is to randomly select neighborhoods of the city and then randomly survey people within those neighborhoods. That's the best way. It is much more random and it gets you a representative sample.